Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Art of Being a Woman. I'm your host, Courtney, and today we are discussing the art of creating real happiness. I felt very inspired to discuss this topic because every single one of us deserves to feel happy. And I don't mean happy in a superficial way, as in we get the things that we think will make us happy, such as nice cars, a nice house, nice clothing, nice vacations. Those are all amazing and comforting, to say the least, but they don't create real happiness. And if you have been fortunate enough to experience the finer things in life, you know that for a fact. Money truly doesn't buy happiness. Now, if you have not had the luxury of experiencing the finer things in life, then it's completely understandable why you would believe that money leads to happiness. I think this is because a lot of the fears and the worries that many of us face, myself included, from time to time, revolves around money because we need money to survive. Yet there's so many people that have struggled financially for so long, and they finally made a breakthrough financially, and it feels incredible in the beginning. They're able to acquire all the things they've always wanted to acquire when they couldn't, whether it's the nice house, the nice car, and just being able to provide for their whole family and just live a very nice, luxurious life. But once all of that is said and done, there's an emptiness that a person feels. And that emptiness comes from the realization that the happiness that we're craving is something that is internal. It's not something that can be fulfilled by anything outside of us. Because if we think about happiness, it's a state of being. It's a feeling. And feelings are not physical. They're not something that we can hold in our hand. We can't even look at happiness. It's just something that we feel energetically. And the only way that we can really feel good energetically is if we are rich, so to speak, internally. Now, what does that mean? To be rich internally. That is when you feel love in your heart for yourself. You feel love in your heart for others. The more love that you feel, whether it's for yourself or for others, the more happiness you feel in your life. And the beautiful thing about love is that there is no limit to how much love that we can generate in our hearts. Meaning there's no limit to the amount of happiness that we could truly feel in our lives. Now, that doesn't mean that life is not going to have its ups and downs. We know that life is like a roller coaster. There will be periods of ups and downs. We will go through tests. We will have to face our fears and experience doubt. But we can still be happy in those moments because happiness never came from things outside of us. Sometimes life specifically will test us when we believe that external things is our source for happiness. For example, someone that has beautiful jewelry and really believes that their jewelry makes them happy might experience quite a few times that their jewelry breaks or that they lose it. And of course, we're going to feel the loss. And loss doesn't feel good because as people, we become very attached to things that we have. And we tend to believe the illusion that things can last forever when they don't. So life will remove things that we are attached to, that we're scared to lose, to show us that happiness doesn't come from there. Happiness doesn't come from attachment. Happiness doesn't come from anything outside of ourselves that we've attached it to. We're going to discuss this topic more in depth, and it's my goal that by the end of this episode, you have a new perspective on happiness. And not only that, you start to create more happiness for yourself. Because once you get really good at that, your inner quality of life will improve tremendously, regardless of the circumstances that you're experiencing. And on top of that, your energy is going to become contagious and you will become a light for those around you. Now, that doesn't mean that everyone around you is automatically going to be happy because you have learned how to create your own inner happiness, but you are definitely reducing any darkness around you when you are the light. Consider yourself a candle for others, allowing others to see through their own darkness a little bit better. The 4 steps that we're going to get into are from my Instagram page, She Is Artfully Woman, and my Threads account, which is also She Is Artfully Woman. If you have not followed me yet on Instagram or Threads, you definitely should, because I discuss all the topics that are here on the podcast on both platforms, and I discuss additional topics as well. I'm recording this during a break that I decided to take from writing specifically on Instagram, and I just want to share that it was a very hard decision to make because for so long I have attached my own happiness to being of service to others and writing, honestly, because just that feeling of creativity would give me so much joy that I really believed there would never be a day that I wouldn't be excited to write. And it wasn't until recently that I started to feel as if I need to slow down and I need to take a break. The writing was feeling more like pressure that I was putting on myself, and my creativity felt limited. Things didn't feel like they were flowing as quickly as they used to. And I really tried for a few days to force myself to sit down and write. Even if it was so bad, I would still write. And in my opinion, it did feel bad. I didn't enjoy what I was writing. I didn't feel connected to the topics that I was working on. And it was making me unhappy because I was doing something that has always been out of love, out of joy and excitement. And I was making it a chore. I was almost guilting myself into remaining consistent and honestly just avoiding the fact that I felt I truly did not want to write. And I didn't know why. I still don't know why. But through my own personal journey and through my own writings in the past, I've learned a lot on how to be accepting of how I feel and accepting of what makes my soul happy, not just what seems like the best choice to make from the outside looking in. And what's interesting is that I realized I don't feel that sort of burnout when it comes to podcasting. If anything, I felt very excited to podcast, which interestingly enough, it used to be reversed. I used to be more excited to write. It was more comfortable for me. And podcasting, as much as I love it, I really do, it always felt like I had to face a fear every single time I was recording an episode. But now it doesn't feel like I'm facing a fear at all. It feels natural. It feels like I'm in my element. So perhaps that was the point that life was trying to show me in this period of my life. But I just wanted to share a little bit about my personal life because I did announce it on my Instagram account that I would be taking a break, but I didn't really elaborate why, and I feel connected to each and every one of you that listen. I'll probably start sharing more about my personal life in a more current sense going forward. I usually refer back to things that I've experienced in life in the past because it's easier that way, but there are things that I am learning in real time with every single one of you. And there are just some lessons in life that are lifelong themes. I believe the art of creating real happiness is one of those lessons in life that is a lifelong theme for me, but for many of us as well. Let's get into how to create real happiness for ourselves in depth. The 4 steps are as follows. 1, understand happiness is created, not received. Step 2, detach from your desires completely. Step 3, always choose alignment over validation. And step 4, treat your growth like an adventure. Let's begin. Step 1, understand happiness is created, not received. I touched on this in the beginning of this episode because it is honestly the ultimate disclaimer when it comes to happiness. If we are still in a mindset where we think and believe that happiness can be bought with money, even if we're struggling financially, if we are still in that mindset, we're not on the path of creating real happiness. And that's just a fact. Because follow the path of every single person that made money their focus. Follow the path of people that really believed financial success was going to lead to fulfillment. And you will find that they are not happy. They're not fulfilled just because they achieved financial success. It doesn't have to be money. It can be relationships. For women, we are usually pressured into finding a partner, settling down so that our life can finally start. As if we cannot be truly happy until we've committed to someone else. But we know that relationships and marriage don't necessarily lead to happiness because the divorce rate is so high. And if we look at any married couple, it's not paradise, it's real life. And real life has ups and downs. So just like money, relationships doesn't change that fact. It doesn't automatically create happiness for us. The same goes for success. If we are setting a goal to achieve some sort of record or status in our professional life, again, look to anyone that has accomplished those goals and you will realize that it didn't make them happy necessarily. If anything, when we receive these things, when we receive a lot of money, when we receive a romantic relationship, when we achieve success professionally, we start to crave more. It's strange how that works because we think we're filling this void with the things we've achieved. If we feel unhappy and we make money and we're in a good relationship and we're successful, we think that will fill up that emptiness within us. But it only makes that void bigger because then we realize we have so much to be grateful for, yet we don't feel good inside. We don't feel happy. We don't enjoy it and love it as much as we thought we would or as much as people told us we would. Sometimes we assume certain things are happiness because if we have someone in our life that never achieved a certain level of success or status, they might always focus on how if they would have achieved something, they would have been a lot happier with themselves because they did something with their life. But when you get to that point, you realize it's a complete illusion. Now, the reason why this step is so important is because you don't have to do that to yourself. You don't have to put pressure on yourself to achieve these things outside of yourself to feel happy, especially if you're doing it to feel something, because you can feel happy right now. And that can sound annoying when it's hard to feel happy and we don't necessarily love our circumstances or our life in this current moment, but it's true. The only thing that's getting in the way of us creating this happiness for ourselves is us. And once we realize that, we can start to create it. Step 2, detach from your desires completely. This is something that I would have never expected would lead to real happiness. My whole life, and honestly, up until this point pretty much, I would attach to my desires. What are desires? They're manifestations. They are the goals and the dreams and the wishes and the hopes that we have for our life. These are things that I would really cling to, not always out of lack, although sometimes I did. I would always focus on how I didn't have what I wanted, and I would just visualize the day when I would have it all. But sometimes I would just focus on them because I didn't like my current circumstance. Now, what's so interesting about focusing on the future is that it seems harmless, especially when it's not coming from a negative point of view. We're just excited. We're looking forward to achieving our goals. We're looking forward to getting the things that we've manifested, that we've prayed for. And on the surface, it's good. But underneath, what we're doing to ourselves internally is that we're telling ourselves that the present moment isn't as good as the future. Every time we choose to focus on the future and not the present moment, that is what we are reinforcing in our mind, in our heart. We don't like the present moment. We think the future is going to be better than the present moment. And unfortunately, what happens when we do that is we remain stuck in our physical circumstances because we are still in a mindset where we think that happiness doesn't exist in the present moment. It exists somewhere in the future. And that's not true because nothing outside of us creates happiness. That's why many manifestation coaches will tell you that in order to receive your manifestations quicker, one of the things you should be doing is acting as if you already received your manifestation. Why? Not to be delusional in the way that you refuse to see your reality the way it is, but it's because you need to get to a point where your happiness doesn't depend on whether or not you receive what you're trying to manifest. When we're happy, things come to us very quickly. The most inspirational, successful people in the world are those that are so happy when you speak to them, that's for sure, but they're also the ones that were just as happy before they reached all this success. Those are the best people to be around. We don't want to be someone that attaches to our desires so tightly that we can't be happy in the current moment. And we also don't want to be that person that is only happy when we get what we want. Because I promise you, once you get what you want, you're going to want more. So you're going to be unhappy again. And it's a never-ending cycle until you realize happiness is not outside of you. It's nowhere in the future. It's nowhere in the past. It's right here with you, waiting for you to create it. When we reach a state where we feel we would be just as happy now, and when we receive our desires, we have created real happiness. Step 3. Always choose alignment over validation. I did a whole episode on alignment, and I feel like I want to do another one because that was just such an amateur stage in my life when it came to alignment. Now, no shade to the younger version of myself. I love that episode, but I feel like the lessons have been lessening and I've learned a lot more about choosing alignment. What life has been making very clear to me, which I appreciate and love, is that it's not easy to choose alignment. And sometimes I feel like social media can gloss over that fact. And honestly, to each their own. We all have our own opinions on things in life. So I'll speak from my own personal experience. A lot of my life, I really followed a path that I thought would make me happy. And I only recently realized that it wasn't what I wanted on a deep soul level. It was what the people around me thought was best for me, which truly means what they thought would have been the best for them had they had a chance to do their life over again. I made a decision to follow the advice of other people, and I don't regret that. I'm in a good place right now, and I am talking on a podcast about creating happiness now because of everything that I've ever experienced up until this point. So no regrets over here. But because I didn't choose alignment at a younger age, it is currently a challenge for me every single time I am being put in a position to choose alignment over validation. And I don't mean validation in the way of people praising me and telling me I'm amazing. I really couldn't care less about any of that. And I generally don't enjoy compliments. I feel like they have always made me uncomfortable. Even though I work on it and I accept them, I still cringe inside, which is a whole other topic. But I mean the validation from others that you're living a proper life. And I don't even know how to word this properly, but there's almost expectations in our society as to how one should live their life. I'm not even talking about achieving ultimate success or wealth. I'm just talking about someone living a full life and what is considered a full life. Many people will tell you to go to college, to settle down, start a family, work until you retire, spend more time with family, maybe travel, and that's it. But that is not alignment for everyone. Some people don't want to get married. Some people don't want to have children. Some people don't want to work until they retire. And it can be hard to make decisions that go against that typical structure when everyone around you believes that is considered the ultimate way of living your life. So that's really what I'm referring to when I mean validation. When we have to make these choices in life, whether we choose to not have a family, whether we choose to not get married, we have to be able to make those decisions when it's coming from our soul and not from fear. I just want to emphasize that. And not only make these decisions, but stand tall in them and be proud and be confident, even when everyone might tell you you're crazy. Or they'll just think it about you and you'll never know, but you'll feel it because we feel it. Let's be real. Every single time we choose alignment over that validation, over appearing to make sense, or appearing to be doing things correctly according to whoever's standards, we create real happiness for ourselves. Because happiness comes from within. It doesn't come from other people thinking we're living a good, fulfilled life. We can assume that, go down that path of living our life the way that others deem fit and the world deems fit, only to realize that the void, that emptiness, that lack of real happiness is still there within us. And I don't want anyone listening to this podcast to have to go through that. You don't have to always learn things the hard way. You could. I know me personally, I've learned a lot of things the hard way, and I believe I enjoy that. I like the experience because I really learned my lesson that way. But if you are someone that couldn't care less to learn things the hard way, then don't. Read books on those that have achieved the things that you are setting out to achieve and get to the bottom of the reality behind it all. Get behind what it took to get to that position and that place in life. And decide for yourself if that is the path you feel your soul is guiding you towards. Because every time you make a choice out of what would make your soul happy and not what everyone assumes will make you happy, you will be creating real happiness in your life. And it will become a lot easier to keep choosing alignment again and again and again, because that will always come up. Life is always giving us opportunities to choose alignment or to choose validation of others. Step 4, treat your growth like an adventure. This last step is one of my favorites because personally, I love to learn. I don't know why. I was born loving to learn. I loved to read books. I loved to learn about history, but I've also loved to learn about things that people don't like to teach. So I guess you can consider that occult knowledge, but it didn't always have to be that. I would love to just expand my knowledge and wisdom on life itself. And I honestly got picked on for it quite a bit. And it wasn't that serious. It was just teasing. I always had my head in a book, and I would always watch documentaries instead of watching regular shows. And I never knew why. Honestly, it wasn't until I started writing and I started this podcast that I realized, wow, all of that desire for growth was like an adventure for my soul. And that adventure led me to face my fears of public speaking, to tap into my own creative ability, which we all have. And it's been amazing. Obviously, not every period in my life has been amazing. Life has ups and downs, of course, but that's part of the adventure. There's plot twists. Our lives are like the best movie that could have ever been written, if we really think of it that way. When we see our lives that way and we treat life and our growth and our evolution like an adventure, that is also what creates real happiness. So I want you to look at your own life and do the same thing. Look at the ups, include the downs, and create a story and try to see where you're being guided towards and make it fun, make it interesting, because it is and it will be. I hope you enjoyed listening to this episode. I really loved talking about this because I just want each and every one of us to be happy. I truly believe that if we all understood how to create real happiness for ourselves, the world would be a much more peaceful place. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed, please like and comment your thoughts and feelings. I hope you have an amazing week. I love you so much. Until next time, bye for now.